Before we start the video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you. And now, let's go. Story 1. Hi everyone. I'm desperate for answers. I really need help like so bad. Questions are listed at the bottom. I'm going to dive in and give a detailed backstory, so this may be kind of long. I am 20 and my younger sister is 17. I'm a college student. My parents are together and come from two different racial backgrounds. Mom is white and dad is black. My parents laid extremely high expectations for both me and my sister from the time we were in kindergarten. But I noticed as I dove into a competitive sport at 8 years old, the treatment between the two of us began drastically changing. My dad was very involved in this sport. I needed to practice every day. That's reasonable. As I got older, this sport grew into a monster. I was playing at the highest level and almost committed to the University of Georgia to play. So through high school, I struggled with super tough coaches, one which got fired from 3 high schools for mental abuse. So it was just a very heavy weight to carry at my age. There was no off season, so I was gone all summer for 3 quarter summers straight, and every day after school was dedicated to practicing. I didn't mind this, but my mom is heavily dedicated to school. She would hammer down on me if I didn't have straight A's in my all AP advanced placement classes. I had tutoring twice a week and ACT prep once a week. This was my life from ages 12 to 18. I quit my sport in April 2023 and my dad was devastated. He immediately made me search for a job for that summer as soon as I got out of school. So I got a job working 5 days a week at the YMCA Children's Center. In the moment, I didn't mind any of this until I left for college. Once I left for college in 2023, I decided I was going to major in computer engineering. My relationship with my parents was extremely rocky due to me wanting to explore and have some freedom without them. I ended up doing okay my first semester, but in February of 2024, I hit the darkest place I've been in my entire life and failed all of my classes, leading to my suspension from the university. I was in over my head in all of my classes. My parents were awful to me through the entire freshman year of college, never asking about my mental health. Only cared about my grades and told me to do some soul searching. I was forced to tell them in May 2024 that I failed out, and they were disappointed but acted sympathetic. Now that it's been a year, I'm back in school at a community college seeking my associate's degree, and then I plan on returning to the engineering school at the same university this December. Since quitting sport, which was my dad's thing, and failing school, which was my mom's thing, I feel like both parents hold a significant amount of resentment towards me. When I was 16, I got my mom's hand-me-down 2011 Maxima, which I was extremely grateful for, took great care of and love it. I still drive this same car with huge damages to it from someone hitting me. I pay for my rent, gas money, and groceries, which I do feel like is a fare for a 20-year-old to be paying. I've had job after job since for the past 2 years. But my sister, who is 17, got a brand new 2021 Nissan Altima last year. She has no pressure to be in any AP classes. She doesn't have a job. She doesn't play sports. She has no pressures in life, which has set her up for a great success in my opinion. She can seek out opportunities for herself without feeling forced by someone, and like it's a chore, she has picked up small hobbies in her free time. She goes to school, which she's late for all the time, comes home, takes a shower, and takes a nap. She stays in her room all the time, whereas I'm always socializing with my parents. This started from a young age. When I entered middle school, I wanted to wear makeup, and my mom got me clear mascara and chapstick. When my sister entered 4th grade, she had an entire YouTube channel dedicated to makeup. She had an entire vanity of expensive makeup. She has a brand new furniture set in her room, and I have old furniture that my granny gave us. These are just simple examples, but I could go on forever with this. I love my younger sister to death, and I don't blame her. Sometimes she acts like a brat and looks down on me because I don't have some of the nice things like she has, or she'll throw an insult in my car or my room saying it's dirty, but I don't mind because she doesn't know any better. I try not to resent her, it's really hard. I do love her, she's amazing, and she's like my best friend, but I have moments where I just have to be alone from my family. The most significant time period of my life with my parents is when I decided I was not going to play my sport in college. March 2023, August 2023, when I left for college. My dad became physically abusive on one occasion because I didn't have time to do the dishes in between me arriving home from school and having to leave for practice. I went to practice with a busted lip, bleeding nose, and huge bruise on my forehead. My younger sister saw my mom wasn't home. My mom was physically abusive on multiple occasions and quite frequently prior to this incident, but I could hold her off. Obviously, it was different than when my dad did it. They've never laid a hand on my sister other than a whooping here or there when we were younger. I just moved home from college yesterday, so we decided to go out to eat for dinner. I was cheery and in a great mood, dressed for the occasion appropriately, making conversation the whole way, laughing and trying to be pleasant. My sister sat with her AirPods in. My mom had to buy her a new outfit since she didn't dress right, and she had a horrible attitude the entire time she didn't want to spend her Sunday doing this. She didn't even order food at the restaurant. When we sat down for dinner, my parents and I had a huge argument. I was discussing babysitting the family. I have babysat for a little over a year now. When I left for college, I gave the family my sister's phone number in case they needed a babysitter. She babysat for them a handful of times. I have been scheduled to nanny for them 4 days a week this summer, and I offered her one day so she can make a little bit of money since she's not getting a job. At the dinner table, she had an attitude about wanting to babysit 2 days instead of one. I clapped back at her. Since she's been bringing the energy down all day, I was just sick and tired of it, and I said maybe you should get a job if you want more money. Who has a brand new car and doesn't have a job? My parents got furious that I said that. Their only explanation was that it was their decision to parent how they want to parent. They were infuriated with me, instead of with the child that has been ruining the entire day with her selfish attitude. I know that parenting style differs from older sibling to younger sibling. We are two different people, so I completely understand that. I just don't feel like it's normal for me to feel this way, and I don't feel like this is traditional or normal. My whole family has tons of built-up resentment towards each other, with my grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, etc. Now that you guys know my whole life story, faced with tears of joy questions, I am absolutely terrified to pass this treatment down to my children. How can I prevent this? I want to live a happy, successful life. Should I seek therapy to help deal with all of the emotions and baggage this brings? I do love my parents, even though it's been really hard. It would be hard, financially, to cut them out. How can I deal with this moving forward? Am I incorrect for feeling some resentment towards my sister? I just really need some kind words and motivation because I'm crying writing this. I just don't understand how you could treat a real person like this for so long. I am not trying to play the victim. Sometimes I think it's me. Is it me? I don't understand why everything is targeted towards me. I try to explain this in a non-biased way so that you guys could form your own opinions about it. Thank you guys for reading, and I already appreciate you for taking the time to read all of this. TLDR, I've been dealing with the drastic differences of my parents' parental style between my sister and I for 10 years. Story 2. Hello all. Sorry for the throwaway. I don't want my partner to see this. My partner, 35M, and myself, 33F, have been in a relationship for 5.5 years. During that time, I have had many conversations about the fact he doesn't hear me. E.g., we'll be watching TV and I will say his name or something and he will not even flinch. I have waited minutes at a time. When I ask again, he briskly will answer me or just say, it makes me feel like a nag. I think in his mind he has already responded to me. So when I ask a second time, he is annoyed that I am bothering him. When I have had this conversation with him, he says that when he's watching TV, nothing and no one else exists, and so he can't see me in the black void around the screen. I asked him if our dog is there in his visions, and he says yes, but I am not there too, hence why he doesn't register that I have said anything. For years now, this has made me feel like I'm talking to myself or a blank wall, and doesn't feel very nice at all. Over the past 3 years, we have lived together alone. He has an issue saving money, where the other year I was covering all bills. When he would say he'd like to contribute, I knew he didn't have loads of money, so I would ask him to instead put $50 towards our joint savings. 9 months go by, and I checked the savings account. Nothing had been transferred, even when he told me he would. That made me feel awful and like I couldn't trust him to be honest with me. Then we went overseas saying, don't worry, baby, I've got you. Money stuff is all sorted. only to run out part way through. He didn't tell me earlier, which would have allowed me to take money out of my savings app, which takes 5 business days to clear into my account, and have to borrow money from his mom. Again, this felt like I couldn't trust him completely to follow through. This year has been a lot. I have really wide feet and struggle to find dressy shoes I like. Finally, I found some and spent $300. The heel broke after a few weeks, and I got a refund. I could keep the shoes as they didn't have a replacement for me. As they were my only heels that I could wear, I of course kept them and asked my partner to glue the chipped heel back on. He is a shoemaker, and we have every kind of machine, glue, vise, and tool of footwear May could need in his workshop. He knew how much I struggled with shoes, so he of course said, "I can fix those. It's easy. I will just buy special glue." That was back in early February. It is now the end of May, and the shoes have not been fixed, despite me very softly asking once a month to see when they might be ready. I am traveling to Europe in 9 days for my goddaughter's baptism, and these are the shoes I'm planning to wear. I had asked him ages ago if he could fix it so that I could test them out to make sure they wouldn't break again straight away. He said of course. Now, he still hasn't touched them or even remembered to do them. He said he would do it last Thursday, but ended up resting and watching TV instead. I brought this up with him yesterday, that I feel hurt when he doesn't do the things he says he will, like wash the dog. It has been 3 months now. I know he is dyslexic. I have ADHD and undiagnosed autism. I am the eldest daughter and grew up in an abusive home. I so badly thought that I could finally let my guard down and trust this man, but it seems I can't, and it is really breaking me from the inside. I am extremely empathetic towards his experience as a neurodivergent person. I offer to book his doctor appointments for him because I know he gets overwhelmed. I organize everything to do with our rental home. We recently moved house after getting an intention to sell notice. He was overwhelmed and I didn't want him to be, so I took on all the house hunting and he liked one. So I pushed through and got us the house he wanted. He needed a big workshop. I handled all real estate stuff, all safety inspections, telling the real estate all the things that are wrong with the house, while also trying to manage my small business that I'm always stressed about, on top of trying to make money to actually pay rent. He started a new job where he works 4 days a week as a design and technology assistant in a high school. I'm glad he loves his job. I'm really happy. I had spent hours after my 12-hour workdays to come and help him apply for jobs, long drawn-out applications that I did happily because he was stressed and uncomfortable. I do all of these at the drop of a hat because I know it took so much energy to ask for the help. Sadly, I don't feel like he applies that same mentality to me. He told me yesterday he doesn't mean to not care, it's just that I'm not on his mental list, which felt like a punch in the gut. Today I woke up ugly crying while I tried to clean the kitchen because my body was reacting to the realization that I don't feel I can trust him. It is hard to realize when you love the other person so much. He came out to ask what was wrong, and I had to tell him, and that was heartbreaking. He is now very silent and went back to bed. I don't know how to navigate this without hurting his feelings. He is very sensitive, and I can be blunt. So for the past 6 months, I've been sending my response text to him through ChatGPT first, so I can ensure that I'm not being rude or hurting his feelings. I'm running out of energy, and I don't know what to do or how to help. I have been struggling a lot since we moved into the new house. I organized everything, the removal list, the paperwork, all of it. We have now been here for 6 weeks, and we're still drowning in boxes, some of which have sat in the exact same place as before. I have been piecing away at it, and he does too occasionally, but the bulk of it is just sitting there, and even when I say, can we unpack XXX together this weekend, it is met with a maybe. I had a breakdown yesterday because everything is so gross and nasty in the house right now, and he said, don't worry, we have 4 weeks to sort it out, as in before I come back from Europe. And it's making my feel crazy because it shouldn't be too much to ask that the bathroom gets a decent clean up after he shaves everywhere. I am so stressed and anxious and need to relax, but he doesn't see why it would be nice for us to have a clean space now and not just later. I'm going crazy. He blames it on his dyslexia, but I think a lot of it is because he actually doesn't care to make me a priority. I'm really struggling and don't know what to do anymore. Can anybody help with some advice? Thank you, TLDR. My partner doesn't do the things he says he will and doesn't notice me. Blames it on dyslexia, but I feel a lack of care, which has resulted in mistrust. Story 3. Hey everyone, I'm in a situation that's been weighing heavily on me lately, and I'd really appreciate some outside perspective. I'm 20 years old and have been in a relationship for a year now. It's my girlfriend's second relationship, and it's my first. We're the same age. There are definitely great aspects to our relationship, and I do see potential, but there are also serious issues that leave me stuck between my future and this relationship. When we first got together, I used to hit the gym 4 to 5 times a week, especially during weekend nights with friends. It was an important part of my lifestyle. Since we became a couple, we've been spending almost every weekend together from Friday evening to Sunday night, and also a few evenings during the week. While I do enjoy our time together, we mostly just hang out, watch Netflix, go for walks. Not really anything productive. The problem is I also study, have to work, and I have a business project with a friend, and I want to keep up with the gym and start Muay Thai. I have goals I want to pursue while I'm young and have time. When I try to talk to her about needing more time for myself and my goals, she takes it personally. She interprets it as me not loving her enough, not making her a priority, or wanting to see her less. She says she also has to study and work, but still makes time for me, so I should be able to do the same. She has very high expectations of emotional presence, like wanting her partner to only have eyes for her and treat other women very distantly. I want to emphasize that I've tried to communicate this with her multiple times. I've explained that I need time for myself, not just for work or productivity, but because I function better when I have space to recharge and focus on what matters to me. Alone time is important for my well-being, but every time I try to express this, it ends in her feeling hurt or rejected. She takes it as a sign that I don't care about her enough, rather than understanding that this is something I genuinely need. So while some people might say, just talk it through and find a compromise, I feel like I've already done that, and it hasn't worked. She sees my needs as a threat rather than something we could balance together. There's also a deep trust issue. Her last boyfriend betrayed her trust, flirting with other girls, keeping nudes, etc. And I've made mistakes too. Most recently, she found that I had viewed some stupid thirst trap content on TikTok. Nothing I saved or interacted with, just watched. But it triggered a big fight, and I fully understand why. I apologized, deleted TikTok, and acknowledged it as a moment of weakness and lack of discipline I'm working on. But it really hurt her and worsened the trust issues that were already there. She also gets upset over things that seem harmless to me. For example, one time I bought flowers for my mother's birthday, and before heading into the gym, I asked a female staff member at the gym front desk, she was the only person there, if she could hold them for me during my workout, since they'd get damaged in my locker. My girlfriend was with me at the time, and afterwards, she was really upset, saying I was too nice to the staff member and that a real man shouldn't speak so kindly to other women. From my perspective, it was just a practical and polite interaction, nothing more. I'm not even saying I need to be friends with other girls. That's not what I'm after. I don't feel the need for female friends. But at the very least, just being able to communicate normally, socialize, and maybe build connections if there is any value or so like a normal person, simply because it's always valuable to know people and improve your social skills, is already a huge issue for her. In her eyes, like I mentioned, a man shouldn't even be kind to another woman. To her, things like simply talking to other women or being friendly already feel like a form of cheating, because in her eyes, a truly loyal man only has eyes for her, ignores other girls completely, and would never initiate any kind of interaction with them, as that would already cross a boundary of trust. She often questions whether I'm really out with my friends and asks me to send proof. It's exhausting. And while I've made my mistakes and try to take accountability, the trust issues have been there from the start and seem to be growing, not healing. Right now, I feel stuck between two paths. Part of me wants to hold on and try to fix things. But the other part wonders if I'm already giving up too much of myself just to maintain this relationship, and whether that's something I'll regret later. I'm trying to figure out what's truly right for me long term. TLDR, I'm 20 and in a 1-year relationship with someone I care about, but I'm stuck between growing as a person and keeping the relationship going. I've already communicated that I need time and space to focus on studying, the gym, and building a self-employment project, but my girlfriend takes that as rejection. Trust issues, emotional pressure, and control are wearing me down. I'm unsure whether to keep pushing or choose myself. Story 4. Hello, everyone. I'm asking for kindness and non-judgmental advice and opinions as I'm going through a very difficult time in my life. I feel burnout with life, and I, 27F, have self-sabotaged my first ever loving relationship with my boyfriend, 30M. For backstory, we met and dated during the pandemic. I was a non-traditional community college student about to transfer, and he was a military sergeant who was thinking of pursuing college for the first time in order to become an officer. We fell in love, and with some encouragement, he applied to community college, and I transferred. We lived 10 minutes from each other for a year, and then 30 minutes from each other for 2 years. Although there are many precious memories, our arguments have reached a limit to him, and I'm afraid there's no turning back as much as I'm trying to fix it. I think it all started when it was his turn to transfer, and he was applying to a local university. I saw the potential in him and encouraged him to apply to the local private university that is known as one of the best in the country. He was hesitant, yet he applied 2 weeks prior to the deadline. When he got accepted to the private university, I cried tears of joy. I was so very proud of him. However, I didn't expect him to be loaded in work. Now he had military officer training, ROTC, 20 units per quarter in order to graduate within 2 years, and tons of reading and essays. Meanwhile, I was finishing my last year of public university with school-related stress and severe imposter syndrome because I had tried for 3 years to obtain a major-related internship and failed. After I graduated in May 2024, my imposter syndrome got worse because I obtained a seasonal position I didn't really want. Then, I was coming to a realization that my boyfriend's college career was working out so well for him. This is when I first started feeling a bit jealous of my boyfriend. In the past year, he got accepted as an officer, which means that will be his title/ranking in the military once he's active after his graduation. This meant a year away from home to train, and I was okay with that. I started planning out goals to achieve during our year away from each other, so when I move in with him, I could be financially and mentally independent. But nothing in my life has worked out how I wanted it to. I moved back in with my parents, which meant we were 2 hours away from each other. I only worked for 2 months as a seasonal employee. My job search has led to a few interviews. I've been forced to accept job rejections and ghosting. I have tailored my resume multiple times with chat and wrote cover letters for the positions I was really interested in. A month ago, my 15-year-old childhood dog started suffering epilepsy and had to be put down. Seeing my dog have a 10-minute seizure was extremely traumatic. 2 months ago, my homeless uncle, aunt, and aunt's husband moved into our home. A family of 4 is now 7 in a 3-bed/2-bath home. We're all adults, and I gave up my room so my aunt and her husband could sleep in it. To say I'm overwhelmed is an understatement. I have no privacy, and my aunt is a highly opinionated woman, and having to hear her voice every day annoys me because I disagree with lots of things she says, yet I have to remain composed and apathetic because I don't want to make her feel disrespected. I've only hung out with my boyfriend for 2 to 3 weekends this year, and the last 2 weekends are messy and unhealthy that I don't really remember most of the arguments. The first weekend I recall feeling sad because he was not giving me enough attention, but that was the norm because he was always busy with school. What triggered me was seeing a matching bracelet I gave him. I had mine on, but his was on a shelf, and that killed me emotionally. I didn't say anything and went into his apartment bathroom to cry on the floor. After an hour of crying, I kept thinking to myself, why isn't he coming for me? Why am I torturing myself? I had enough and went into the small living room and cried. I was still ignored for hours. After about 3 hours of just crying on the floor, I started hitting myself and saying things like, "You don't love me." I ripped the matching bracelet off of me. He obviously reacted, but didn't hug me. He told me to relax, and we talked while I cried, and then I told him to hug me. He told me to play a game on my iPad, and then we went to bed cuddling and had sex. The next day, it was as if nothing had happened. The second weekend we hung out, I didn't feel like cooking with him, which is usually what we do. I felt tired of my life and was only thinking of jobs and career future. I do remember opening up about being so worried that my plans weren't working out and how traumatic this job search has been. I felt like not owning a car and having all my savings decrease over time made me feel like a worthless girlfriend. What do I have to offer when we move in together? The next day, I don't remember what he said, but I started packing up my stuff crying. I told him I wasn't feeling good and that it would be best if I leave. We then sat down, and he started getting a bit upset that in the past 2 years, I always run away during an argument or over something he says. He had told me he was walking on eggshells, and I told him the same. I was running away, but letting him know for the first time ever, which was kind of hard to do. Looking back, it's a bit of growth to even be a bit open in communication instead of being silently dramatic when running away. I didn't leave, and the next day, we went on a beautiful hike and had lunch. This was 5 weeks ago. Coming back home, I realized that I'm not okay. I felt on the verge of burnout. My self-esteem was at its lowest, and I couldn't recognize myself anymore. Nothing brings me joy. I decided to seek therapy because I was done feeling overwhelmed with life. I was jealous of my boyfriend's life and tired of not being able to regulate my emotions. I knew this was depression. Eventually, I broke down at home because I was rejected from the 2 positions I had interviewed at. I wasted an entire month just interviewing with those companies and carrying false hope. Breaking down for me is ugly. So much self-loathing sentiments and the urge to simply die but being unable to. A huge wave of negative thoughts I've been telling myself about everything, including my relationship, overtook me, and I blew it later that night, Mother's Day weekend. He FaceTimes me, and in the recent months, our conversations have been about his upcoming graduation. With attitude, I let him know that it's best if he gives away my graduation ticket to someone else in his family, because they will enjoy and celebrate him more than I ever will. He asked, "What did you say?" And I said, "You know what I said." He sternly smiled and said, "Okay." We hung up, and I went to sleep with deep shame. I had my first therapy session the next day, and the connection wasn't there, which was frustrating. I realized I regretted hurting my boyfriend, and that what I truly needed was a psychiatrist. I meet her this Wednesday. Anyways, my boyfriend still texted me, and I kindly said I wasn't feeling well and that I would text him another day. He told me that was okay and to feel better. It took me 4 days to calm down, and during those 4 days, I finally opened up to my mom about what was going on with me. I cried because I had negative $10 in my bank account, all because my ego didn't allow me to work a regular retail/fast food job. I felt a bit better once I made my psych appointment because I wanted to change for the better. I'm tired of hurting the people that love me the most. After 4 days, I texted him what was up, and he ignored me. After a few messages, he tells me he had the roughest weekend ever, that I wouldn't understand, and wants to be alone and just focus on finishing strong in order to graduate. I said I was here now and to talk to me, and he refused. I called him 8 times until he picked up with attitude. I told him this is clearly a relationship issue, and it's an urgent matter that needs to be fixed. He basically said he doesn't want to be with me anymore. I caused a lot of stress and pain for him, and the resentment had been building up over time, which led him not trusting me anymore. I knew all of our problems that I instigated were part of his decision, but clearly the graduation ticket comment was the breaking point. I cried so much and had another mental breakdown. I opened up to my mom about all the times I've been so mean and spiteful to him, and how he didn't deserve any of it. After a few days, he accepted a phone call where I apologized and let him know I was already trying to seek help, and I wanted him to give us another chance. He said no, as it didn't matter anymore since he's leaving for a year. I cried again for almost a week, and I felt I was going crazy. The psych ward couldn't have me as I didn't have plans to you-know-what. I was referred to a crisis counselor that didn't help at all. I then chose to drive to him since I hadn't seen him in 5 weeks. I left a care package of food and snacks that I paid with a credit card. He kindly accepted it and took me for a walk to talk. We catched up as if nothing had ever happened. Then we started talking about the care package. He said he felt so bad that I wasn't coping well and had driven 2 hours to see him. He wanted to give me money, and I refused. He told me, "You know you're struggling." That hurt me to the max, and I apologized again about the graduation comments and anything I ever said or did. He said the resentment was there, but that all was forgiven. He said he couldn't take me back if I didn't love myself. He said, "How can you love someone else if you don't love yourself?" He had watery eyes throughout our conversation, but I just ugly cried. I told him I was already making a huge step to fixing myself, and he said no. He said he asked many times for me to change, and he never saw it. He doesn't believe I will change, and my heart shattered. I had self-sabotaged my relationship. We hugged one last time, and he didn't want to kiss me, so I don't get false hope of reconciliation. I don't know how I drove back home, but I haven't eaten in 2 days, and my family doesn't understand me at all. They just want me to accept and feel better. I have to hear them talk about how disrespectful I am that I'm not eating or doing anything. I'm officially burnt out and want my own space to mourn. I keep beating myself up, even though he told me not to. He told me he cares a lot about me and still loves me, and I low-key feel betrayed because he has never left before when I'm out of my mind. His graduation week includes officer training graduation, his birthday, and our 4-year anniversary as well. All hopes and dreams are lost because of me, and I truly regret hurting him. Why couldn't I support him when he loved me? Does anyone have stories about reconciliation? Any advice? Thank you for reading. I'm lost, and I'm very sorry this is all about me. I hope to be better. TLDR. I've been deeply depressed and overwhelmed with life. I pushed away the person I love the most, and now he says he can't be with me anymore. He still cares, but says I need to focus and love myself first. I'll be seeing a psychiatrist soon, but he says he doesn't want to pursue the relationship anymore. Is there any hope for reconciliation? How do I move forward when I feel like I destroyed everything? Story 5. Myself, 19M, and a friend, 19F, of mine have entered a strange time together. For context, I've been friends with her for 5 to 6 years. We went to high school together, but we didn't go to the same college. It was the same overall college, but just different branches/departments and buildings. I went and did my A-levels, whereas she had always been a massive animal lover, and so she studied animal care at a local farm just a 5-minute walk from my house. We spoke for hours and hours every single day. I caught feelings for her. She was just everything I could ever hope to have in someone. However, I knew nothing would come of it, since she always said that she wasn't ready for a relationship whenever the topic was brought up. She would say that she's scared of them because she felt that it would feel forced and fake, and that the commitment was another thing that scared her, because she didn't want a relationship to feel like a chore or a job. And so I didn't pursue, and instead kept my feelings to myself and got on with life. This went on for months until one night I broke down and told her how I felt and how I already knew that it wouldn't lead to anything. And I was right. We didn't get together, but we stayed close friends. She thought it was sweet that I felt I could talk to her even about something like that, and was thankful for my honesty, but that she just wasn't ready. Which is exactly what I knew it would be like in my head. I already knew that nothing would come of it. So in fact, I wasn't too hurt by the rejection. I simply had to tell her how I felt. I had felt that way for months, and the feelings and want to say something just became too much for me to handle anymore. And so I told her. After that night, we went and carried on as we were, as friends. My feelings for her never went away, though, as much as I wanted and thought they should. After a few more months, it became too much for me, and I had a mental dip. I was upset. I couldn't stop how I felt and be normal. I lost all motivation, and everything became dull in my life. Our friendship, whilst we both wanted it to continue, I started to feel awkward around her, because it felt like torture in my chest to be there knowing I felt how I felt, but couldn't be lucky enough to be with her. Little by little, our conversations became drier and drier, until in December 2023, they just stopped completely. I know that it was my fault why it happened, but it became painful to talk to her and not being able to move on like I desperately wanted to in order to save our friendship. Sadly, we stopped speaking for 1 year and 3 months. In that time, I went through a bad 6-month-long relationship. I lost my virginity, enjoyed the first few months of that relationship, and had finally managed to move on from her. And yet we continued to not speak. My relationship ended when I discovered that who I was with had cheated on me with someone I had called a friend for years before that point. I finished college and got my A-levels, and months later a cat photo was sent into a group chat that myself and my friend used to talk together in, but had gone dead after we stopped speaking. We both reacted to the cat photo and spoke to each other in the group for a little while before moving to our DMs. The friendship was back, and all it took was a cat photo. We were both ecstatic to be talking to each other again. I apologized for not messaging and basically leaving, and gave my half of the reasons behind it, which I have already told you. Her side of the story was that she was scared that I didn't want to be friends with her anymore and that she had missed me a lot. I had missed her a lot too. I missed our talks, our inside jokes, our late-night conversations. We stepped back into our friendship so easily it was as if the last year hadn't had happened at all. It was exactly how things used to be. It was perfect. We caught up, spoke for hours and hours. It was 20 to 5 in the morning when we went to sleep. Everything was back to how we both had wished it had been. And for a few weeks, everything was amazing. And then it happened. I caught feelings again, not as strongly as the first time, and it isn't affecting our friendship. And I'm actually able to keep myself in check this time and not let them take over. It's now been 3 months since we started speaking again, and life just seems so much better than what it was like without her. My feelings for her seem to come and go to an extent. Some days I feel them strongly, whilst other days it's more so in the background of my mind. When we talk, I just feel at peace in a way I have never felt with anyone else. I feel like this time there may actually be a chance, though, as when we're asked about our ideal date, we say the exact same thing. We share so many hobbies and passions. Whenever we're having deep conversations, we just connect, and we both know exactly how the other is feeling at any given time without them even having to say anything. Whenever the idea of a relationship is brought up, she now says that she likes the sound of one, but wouldn't be able to get into one. She says that her ideal relationship would be one where there's a deep connection before deciding to date. She also says that she'd want to be friends with benefits before committing to dating with that person. So she already knows what it's like and doesn't make sex feel like an awkward topic in her head to actually discuss or do when with that person. We are very, very close and very, very open with each other to the point where we know each other's kinks. And while she's a virgin, she knows what she'd like. When we talk about stuff like that, she often asks what I did with my ex. And sometimes she says my ex was lucky. I know that some of the stuff I say I've done and would like to do is stuff she'd love too. I can tell by how she responds and often tells me that she'd love that. I don't know if she just feels comfortable enough with me to tell me stuff like that, or if she's dropping hints she wants to do it with me, but is too shy to fully say it. She's always complimenting me, and when she's not, it's the jokey, loving insults. I'm just a little bit confused and worried. I don't want to mess things up again. We've arranged to go out together one night in a few weeks and have a picnic together whilst watching the sunset. Stargaze and talk the whole night together whilst eating cake and have a drink together and then watch the sunrise. What's odd is that exact scenario is the one we both said our dream/perfect date would be. We're going to bring a blanket and lay in a field for an evening and night living out our dream date together. How is that not meant to ignite a tiniest bit of hope in me? Or am I just being delusional? I'm just very scared to say or do anything in case I'm misreading things. And I don't want to plunge us back into another needless break from each other. I would do anything for her, and she knows it. I would be so happy if something between us happened, but I'm not going to try and speak up and say anything like that because I don't want to risk it. Sometimes there's perfect opportunities to flirt, and I feel like she words things in a way just to tempt me to, but I don't let myself just in case that's not what she's doing at all. Like I said at the very beginning, it's a strange time in our relationship. I would love to know what other people think of my situation, whether I'm looking too deeply into things that mean nothing at all, or if there might be a chance. TLDR, I have feelings for my friend, but I'm not sure if I should pursue. We're going on a dream date, but not actually together. What do I do? Story 6. Me and Kay, 17F, have been friends for quite a long time, almost 10 years, but we didn't see each other for a while due to the shift from primary to early secondary. But we became friends again a couple years ago. However, over the last school year, we became really close, easily and quickly becoming best friends. I never really thought too much of her as more than a best friend up until about 3 months ago. I was at some gathering for a friend's birthday, and late in the night, someone half-drunkly said, "When are you going to ask Kay out?" Everyone there agreed, even people who were completely sober. Alongside this time were other occasions similar. Me, Kay, her friend, and my friend were in a study session together, until Kay and her mate left to go somewhere. Then my other friend said to me the second after she left, "How could you not tell she's heads over heels with you?" Following it up with evidence that she did. All these little occasions continue to happen every now and then over the next 3 months up until now. Prior to this, we were extremely close. She would send updates of her day. Whenever she could, she'd send me voice messages, vent about work or school, send me videos of her most recent shopping hauls, send TikToks quite often, ask me advice or opinions on what she should buy, and ask if I would go places, most of the time in school for study periods, but also outside of school. Her texts were often full of life, emotion, and passion. When she'd see me in person, she would light up and shiny LY greet me. We would always joke about when we were with each other and laugh at whatever we said. Our teachers noticed how much we talked, to the point where we had been asked several times to shut up, and they brought it up during parents' evenings. She would almost always start these conversations. She also made it somewhat obvious that she wanted to still be close in the future. She asked where I thought I would be going to uni, if I would ever go clubbing with her. She drinks, but I don't, and I'm assuming jokingly asking if we would ever go to a country abroad together. We both have a language class together. So much more, but I think that's enough. Thoughts about me and my future have been eating me up inside, thinking that I will live full of regret about the life I live right now. She knows this because a bit prior to when I asked if she thought of me as more than a friend, I'll get to that later, I talked about how uncomfortable I felt in my own skin, how I find it so hard to exercise properly because everything, bones, joints, etc., hurts, and how I struggled looking at my reflection because I couldn't stand how skinny especially my arms, was. She was so nice and understanding, saying that she'll be there for me and saying really nice things. Another regret I had in my mind was that what if she really did like me, like my friends, including one of her old mates, they had a bit of a disagreement a while back, said before. This was eating me up inside. I didn't want to feel like I missed a chance of being with her in the future, especially if we would still be friends. Because what can you do with an expired crush? It's not like I particularly wanted her to say yes. I just wanted us to still be close no matter what. So I asked her. I'll write what I said exactly here. Right, I'm about to go to bed, so I may as well just say now, I just wanted to know if you like me as more than a friend. I'm sorry if this makes you uncomfortable or I've overstepped a boundary, but I just feel like I need to know Eve put this off for a while because being friends with you is amazing and I'd never want to harm that. But I feel like in the future I'm going to have a lot of regrets about decisions Eve made and opportunities I've missed. And I just don't want you to be one of them. I know our relationship might not be the same after this, but I hope that even if you don't, we can still be close friends and we can go back to normal. She read it in the morning, leaving me on open for about 15 minutes. And I genuinely felt like I would never speak to her again, which destroyed me. In the end, she said she didn't want us to change our friendship. And she said that I was genuinely her closest friend. The first time anyone, let alone her, said that to me, which actually destroyed me, and I genuinely cried over this. She was really nice, asking if we could still be friends, and I said yes 100%, which she was happy with. This was all Thursday morning. However, after this, I feel like we've become more distant. We barely spoke in person over the next 2 days. TBF, we didn't have many lessons or study periods together. But alongside that, I feel like her texting has been a bit more dry and less of the emotion that used to be there, and definitely the quantity has dropped. Thursday afternoon, I asked her 3 questions. A. Will we still try to be close friends in the future? Yes, silly. B. If ever I feel bad about myself, can I have a consolation hug? Of course, E. It's not much of a question, but can I tell you something, preferably face-to-face, but I could also just send you it whatever you think is best for you. Obviously, the answers aren't exact, but they are roughly that few days have gone by, and I still haven't said what I wanted to say, nor has she brought it up. It's school holiday now for a week, so I probably won't see her over it, and so our contact is now restricted to just Snapchat and TikTok. Saturday goes by, we didn't text as much, but there was still a little bit there, quantity was still lacking, and she didn't text about her day as much as she would unless inquired about, which would still not be too much for an answer, but it felt like at least something. Now Sunday, today, left me on delivered for a large while, 12 hours, and she was awake for the last April 5th. During this time, I turned my Snap Maps on for everyone. I thought I had it on for everyone, but it was just for my mom. Oops. After this, she responded within a couple minutes with a pretty dry response to the point where a convo was not salvageable in the slightest, and then turned off her location on Snap Maps. I used to be one of the only people that could see her, as she didn't have it on for most people, but a few minutes after I turned mine on, I could no longer see hers. She recently reposted a TikTok today or yesterday about how being the oldest sister, she never had much time to rely on anyone and was independent for herself and never getting too attached to anyone. But she now just wants to be loved by someone. Probably not even close to being about me, but I feel like it's a bit significant. I'm so scared because now it's a week of no physical contact. She seems to me to be less interested in being friends, and I'm terrified of losing her because she is such a fantastic friend, and it feels like my fears are becoming reality. TLDR, I asked if my close girl best friend had feelings for me, which she denied and responded saying I was genuinely her closest friend on Thursday. But it feels like we're becoming more distant by the day, and now I'm hijacked by my fear. Thanks for reading Heartsuit. Story 7. I'm not sure where to post this, so I thought here might be a good start. I, 28F, and my husband, 31M, had twins over a year ago, but I can't get over the resentment I have for my husband. For some context, we live in a small 2-bedroom house and already have an older stepson. We got together when his son was 2, and they were operated over a year. We didn't get married until about 5 years later, COVID delayed, and got pregnant a year after marriage. This was a planned pregnancy, though still a surprise when we found out it was twins. We had planned to share our room with a baby for the first 2 years, while we looked for a bigger home. But with 2 babies, those plans became a bit harder. I had an extremely easy pregnancy, and yet it makes me sad even thinking about it. I would love to feel pregnant again, but would never want to be with my husband. Throughout my pregnancy, I carried extremely well, and even looked most of the time like I was only carrying one baby. The first trimester, I was extremely tired and could hardly eat while also feeling like I was starving. Thankfully, my husband never complained about the house becoming messy and dinner not made with me, having no energy. I had always made sure our son was fed, but those were usually quick meals when I couldn't be up for long. Second trimester came, and I hadn't really gained any weight. I barely saw my actual OB, and a lot of step-in doctors didn't even read my chart to see that I was carrying twins, which surprised you need a specialized doctor for twin pregnancies. You can't just see a normal delivery doctor. The twins were gaining really well, and I could finally eat a bit more. Sadly, though, since both placentas were at the front, I could hardly ever feel the babies move. This made me feel like I wasn't really pregnant at times because nothing was happening that I got more energy and worked until a week before birth, which was sadly a C-section because I got very early signs of preeclampsia at 36 weeks. I did thankfully change my OB a little over halfway through my pregnancy, though, which lifted some stress. So the part that I'm upset about is the entire time I was pregnant, I felt like a single mom. I was taking care of my eldest like I usually do, but at that time, he was going through a lot to where he was hospitalized and put into therapy. I ran around trying to take care of everything he needed, which was fine, but it added my feelings of feeling alone. My husband leaves most days before we even get up, 6:30 a.m., and doesn't get home until 8 p.m. He has his own construction business and makes decent money working alone. He works about 6 days a week and barely spent time with the family on Sundays. Now comes what really upset me. While I was pregnant, he refused to touch my belly. He thought it was creepy when I'd asked him to, and that by me asking made him feel I was forcing him into doing something he didn't want to do. Side note, I had and still have no stretch marks. My belly was beautiful, but he made me feel gross. This didn't stop him from wanting sex, though. That wasn't a problem. And when I wasn't in the mood, he'd make you feel bad for not wanting to even give him a blowjob, let alone a hand job. He never wanted to talk to them. And again, if I asked, I was forcing him. He didn't even want to feel when they randomly moved. It was my first pregnancy, and I felt like I was living with a roommate and had a son who hated me for becoming pregnant. The first time I moved, I was so excited, and I barely got him to feel. He was so unexcited and just said, "They do that," and walked away. I barely had any photos of myself while pregnant because I felt that selfies were very cringy. I even asked my husband could take photos of me one day, and even asked in advance days before to make sure I didn't get all dressed up for nothing. He got mad at me still because he was busy with paperwork, and when he finally wanted to take the photos, it was dark outside. Mind you, I was pregnant in the summertime, and it didn't get dark till like 9 to 10 p.m. I also had gotten into PJs by then. He said he'd take photos another day, but that day never came. I didn't dare ask or remind him because I didn't want to be let down again. I knew I was upset by this, and it's just been clinging to me and won't go away. I didn't realize how much this hurt until I broke down bawling my eyes out over a Reddit story about a husband whose wife wouldn't let him touch or even talk to her pregnant belly. To hear how much he loved her and she pushed him away broke me. It made me feel like my husband truly only married me to take care of his son, that I was just a fuck nanny he tied down by getting her pregnant so she wouldn't leave him. I've talked to him about how I feel, and he's tried to be more present. Even after birthday, he barely held and took care of the twins, which made me question more if he even wanted them. Thankfully, my mom was here to help, and he didn't complain, but it didn't mean I didn't pass out from sleep deprivation while breastfeeding, pumping, folding clothes, or sitting and rocking a twin to sleep. They didn't stop needing to be fed every 2 hours until almost 3 months old. It's been over a year, and I just don't know how to move past this. We're trying to stay together because if we did separate, I would move back to my parents in another state, which means our kids would never see their father. I married a man who I thought was an amazingly caring father who loves his eldest. But now I don't even know why I'm married to a man who for a while felt like he tolerated having more kids. If I had known what I do now, I would have never married this man. We can't afford therapy. I'm a stay-at-home mom because daycare for 2 babies was over $2K a month, and even as 1-year-olds, it's just under $2K. TLDR has been over a year, and I, 28F, still can't forgive my husband, 31, for our pregnancy. I felt like a single mom, a nanny, and had a husband who showed no love while I was pregnant. To the point, I didn't even feel like I was pregnant. I'm now trying to move forward and find a way to forgive him. Story 8. TLDR. My college friend is incredibly unstable and manipulative. I want things to change, but don't see an easy way out. What do I do? I, F24, have this friend, F23, who we will call W. W and I met in our first couple weeks of college and have been 2 of the only girls in a mostly male friend group for the past couple of years. When I met her, she was on the heels of an incredibly abusive relationship, a health issue, and was struggling significantly with her mental health. I myself have struggled with pretty severe OCD/body dysmorphia, depression, and anorexia in the past, and, with meds and therapy, have been more or less stable since getting to college. This is all to say, I was incredibly empathetic to her situation and was happy to be a part of her support system, but was also working on my own problems. Our relationship in that first year was fun at times. She was funny, cool, and interesting and a blast to go out with. At the same time, my friendship with her was incredibly exhausting and emotionally one-sided. She was someone who needed constant reassurance and attention and had the tendency to have complete breakdowns, crying, locking herself in her room, threatening to hurt or even K\LL herself in the face of even minor setbacks or rejection. Everyone walked on eggshells around her because they were afraid that if they pushed back, criticized her, or failed to give her anything less than complete devotion, she would harm herself. If you try to tell her no, she would guilt trip you or wear you down until you did what she wanted. And God forbid you try to let her know that something she did affected you, or else she would apologize or denigrate herself. I don't deserve friends. I am so sorry, you should just drop me. Stuff like that, to the point that you became the one having to apologize to and comfort her. She often belittled my own mental health struggles, casting herself as the one that was really struggling and completely disregarding that the reason I was, at least on the surface, doing better than her was because I had taken accountability and put in the work every day to heal myself and my relationships. Still, I attributed a lot of her more difficult characteristics to this abusive situation and her mental health struggles. As time went on, though, I began to recognize that the persistence of her melodramatic antics and manipulative behavior despite thousands upon thousands of dollars worth of intensive therapy, support, and medication is largely rooted in a combo of intense insecurity, immaturity, and self-centeredness. She continues to be incredibly manipulative to her friends, including me, by using her mental health as leverage to get what she wants. She is extremely jealous of my relationship and will openly insult him/our relationship. I have frequently told her that the level of physical intimacy, hugging, touching, cuddling, and emotional closeness she expects from me makes me feel uncomfortable and disrespected. She frequently questions the genuineness of my sexual identity. I have been in a relationship with a man most of the time I have known her, and then she recently switched her profile to show both men and women for no other reason than attention slash as an affectation, further evidencing the fact that she assumes everyone who is bisexual, including myself, is really straight. She makes constant, uncomfortable comments comparing my body to hers in a way that makes me feel horrible given my continued struggle with BDED. I am queer and have had relationships with both men and women. She generally aggrandizes herself and exaggerates in a way that is incredibly transparent, and has recently put on this bizarre, vaguely British vocal affectation to make herself seem more intellectual. She does not really listen to you when you try to communicate her, which puts us in a position where we have to be extremely confrontational to get the point across slash set a boundary, which often leads to situations blowing up, then turning into yet another instance where we are having to comfort her. Her behavior reflects incredibly poorly on all of us in the friend group, and I have had multiple people communicate that her presence in my life put them off on being friends with me. One of my friends has had repeated issues with his girlfriend because my friend treats him like a boyfriend, expecting him to drop everything and comfort her at her beck and call. My friends and I accepted at a certain point that it is easier to indulge W and enable her bad behavior than push back, lest she threaten to hurt herself and coerce us into re-engaging. But I feel like by just enabling her, we have reinforced her bad behaviors. And now we are all trapped in an incredibly emotionally taxing and exhausting deadlock, unsure of what to do or say to improve the situation or make her recognize that her behavior is deeply inappropriate and an unacceptable way to conduct adult relationships. We have tried to communicate some of these issues with her before, but she's almost fundamentally unable to accept criticism and fear. Trying to tell her that we want space slash needs to work on herself will cause her spiral. We are also unable to distance ourselves from her, as she is incredibly anxious about the status of our friendships and keeps track of the amount we are texting her, as well as all of our locations. I literally feel like I'm being held hostage emotionally and am quite frankly at my wit's end. I have been trying to distance myself from her for years, but have been unable to due to the dynamic of our friend group. I try to push back against her bids for attention, and then she casts me as this callous monster for saying what everyone else is thinking. She has many positive characteristics, and I keep second-guessing the increasingly difficult to ignore fact that our friendship is not working due to her emotional instability and manipulativeness. I feel like I am up against a wall. Do I try to get a mediator involved? Do I try to fade her? Anyone who has encountered a similar dilemma, please let me know. Story 9. Let me start by saying my GF is an absolutely incredible woman in so many ways, and I love her very much. She's incredibly intelligent, highly educated, very ambitious, has a ton of grit, but she's also still very feminine, very attractive, and we have a ton of chemistry most of the time. Same sense of humor, same values for the most part, etc. She gets along great with my family, my friends, and we're nearly a perfect match in so many ways. There's one issue that is really eating away at me, though. I have this feeling that sometimes nothing is enough for her, and she's on my case much more often than I would like. I try to be the best boyfriend I can be, and oftentimes, I feel like I do more than most guys are probably doing, although this could be in my head. I am essentially self-employed in the real estate investment/brokerage world, so I make an incredible income, $500,000 to $750,000 per year, for my age, and have access to very lucrative investment opportunities as well. I view this as a golden opportunity to set us up for life and make sure we never have to worry about money when we have a family and give us a level of freedom most people can only dream of. However, that comes at cost as I have to work a lot, and sometimes things change quickly. I lose track of time, I get stressed about work and bring it home with me, etc. With that being said, I still dedicate a lot of time to our relationship and work around 50 hours per week. Most evenings I set my phone down and try to be very present with her. I try to help her out around the house when she needs it. We take our dog on walks. I spend time/energy participating in hobbies/activities that she really wants to do, but I would probably never do on my own, gardening for example. I also don't work on the weekend anymore, so we can spend time together. Not complaining about this at all, just an observation. We just moved in together a few months ago and had this agreement that I would pay the majority of rent at our house, and she would take care of most things around the house. For the most part, this has been the case. However, she does often ask for my help on things, but it's usually small things that pale in comparison to what she's doing around the house. She has incredibly high standards for basically everything, and if something isn't done perfectly, she gets really upset. This has led to a lot of fights and is our biggest issue. It's tough because I genuinely feel like I'm trying, and I'm spending far more time on house-related activities than I ever have in my life, but it still seems to fall short of her expectations more often than not. Most recent example was this week. We got a ton of her things out of storage and moved them all into our house, and it's a lot of stuff. It's been a massive project getting the house set up, getting things organized in a meaningful way, etc. She works from home, and I go into an office, so the past 2 weeks, or so, she's been working on the house a lot while I'm away at work. I come home and help out in the evenings, and will help out on the weekends, but she's doing a lot more than me. These are all her belongings, and she wants the house to be set up a very specific way. So it can be difficult for me to help if she's not there, because if I don't do it exactly the way she wants, it's counterproductive. 2 nights ago, she told me she's been very overwhelmed with the house stuff, and she feels a bit of resentment that I get to go to work and leave it all for an entire day while she's stuck with it. She said she needs more help. I told her I would work from home yesterday and wake up early to help before work, and then find times throughout the day to help. I woke up at 5 a.m. with her, got some things done around the house, and then started my work day. I had 3 periods where I didn't have to do anything for 45 minutes to 1 hour, and went up to her home office to ask what she wanted help with. She was really busy with work and didn't have the time to think of anything really big I could do without her. So she gave me a handful of smaller tasks such as dishes, trash, etc. I did all of them. However, when I did the dishes, I was on a work call and carelessly left a few lids in the sink. I also left my morning coffee mug on the kitchen table. I was on a work call, so wasn't giving the dishes my full attention, but got 90% of them done, along with everything else she asked me to do, and then walked away. A couple of hours later, she got very upset with me about the dishes. She said, "You told me you'd help me today. You barely helped at all, and you couldn't even finish the dishes right because you were on a work call." She told me she often feels like my job is my #1 priority, and she feels like she's in second position. I felt pretty hurt as I had woken up so early to get things done. I had agreed to work from home, and I had done everything she asked me to do and had set time period aside to help her, and here I was getting yelled at for leaving a few lids in the sink and my coffee mug on the kitchen table. I told her I came up to her office several times throughout the day to ask what she needed help with, and it's not my fault she didn't have anything meaningful for me to work on. She felt that I was doing the dishes when I was on a work call and didn't finish them to completion, and this made her feel like my job was more important than helping her around the house after I promised that the house would be a priority today. We got in a big argument, and I definitely pushed back. To me, this feels a bit crazy because I followed through on everything we talked about except the 3 lids in the sink and the coffee mug, but her immediate reaction was to look at what I didn't do right instead of what I did do right. To her, this felt like she really didn't give me a ton of stuff to do, and the few things she did ask me to do, I couldn't do right because I was more focused on work. She felt that I made a promise I would prioritize the house, and then I was carelessly working on the small tasks she gave me while on a work call. Something of this same nature has been a recurring theme in our relationship. It will often surprise me as well. I'll come home and do things with her for 3 hours, and then she'll still get upset about something or make comments insinuating that she's just doing everything in this relationship. Some days things are incredible. Other days it feels like no matter what I do, she will get upset with me for something that feels small or insignificant to me. She told me the biggest thing that bothers her is when I say I will do something and then I either don't or do it in a half-ass way because my job gets in the way. However, I feel if I'm honest with her and just straight up say, I don't have time to help with that today because I have to work, then she will also get upset. I spend many multiples more time working on house-related activities than I did when I was single, and it still seems to fall short of her expectations often. Just to reiterate, I really do love this girl and want to marry her, but this feeling I have inside is hard to ignore. This is our only real issue, and everything else is nearly perfect. This is not my first serious GF, but this is my first time living with a girl, So I'm wondering if this is a normal thing when moving in with someone, or if we're actually more incompatible than we thought, or I'm just being an asshole. If we're looking at this relationship logically from a value-add standpoint, my biggest value-add is my income/investments and financial strength. Hers is handling our personal lives and the house, cooking, cleaning, taking care of the dog, keeping our lives interesting with fun trips, etc. I feel an immediate benefit from her value-add as I come home to a beautiful, clean home every day with a delicious meal cooking. She feels an immediate benefit on the financial side to some extent because I pay for significantly more than she does. However, I feel the benefit I am providing is more of a long-term benefit, not something you feel right here, right now. I'm wondering if that's contributing to this. Curious what the Reddit community thinks about this whole thing and what the best next steps are. TLDR, I feel like I'm spending way more time on house-related chores/activities than I ever have before, but it seems to consistently fall short of my girlfriend's expectations. She often feels like she's second priority behind my job. Simultaneously, I feel like I'm working less than I ever have to make sure I have time to help her and spend time with her. That's it for today's creepy Reddit tales. Before we go, I just want to say a quick thanks to all of you for watching, liking, and sticking around. You guys keep this channel going, and I'll be back soon with more stories that'll make your skin crawl. Drop a comment if you've got your own spooky tale to share, and I'll see you in the next one.